Hi everyone, Michael here, and tonight I wanted to speak to you about how to fully understand the cryptocurrency markets during a downturn and evaluate the reasons why there might be a downturn and how it can affect your own investments and portfolio. And we're going to be taking kind of the same ideals of how you analyze the stock market during a downturn. And you kind of take those same ideas and apply it to your own investments because it's kind of the same due diligence that's needed for any type of investment. And this type of due diligence and actual understanding is good for both sides of the coin, either being in stocks or crypto. There's three main things that we're going to have to look at and evaluate to see how the market's doing and if there's any opportunities there. Now, we're seeing the market has been on quite a bit of downturn, for the past almost 2 weeks now. And it's something that we should have expected considering the massive rise in the cryptocurrency market in itself, in total market capitalization. As you see here, the total market capitalization has been slowly, gradually building itself up for many years now. And then around the mid of 2017, it just started, getting a nice roller coaster ride of a push. But then it just rocketed, huge spike towards I would say, the last few months of 2017. And it's come crashing. Well, crashing is the wrong term. It's kind of come down. The high, the euphoria moment has kind of gone away and kind of brought everybody down to reality. But the great thing we're looking at here is that we would like it to kind of get back to this gradual growth on the charts, in its total capitalization at above the pre-spike moments, above the pre-spike price points. Now, the three main things I wanted to talk to you about on how to understand the market and the way direction might be going, to see if it's really a market situation, if it's anything really that you should be worried about, and if how much it actually affects your own investments. Now, the first thing you want to do is, of course, evaluate the market. Why is it down? Why is it up? And these are things you want to understand, especially when you see that the whole market is down or the whole market's up. There might be some news affecting it. Is the news good, bad? So you're going to want to look for these stuff. And usually you could look on the Bitcoin.com, and they have a really cool news section. I'm a big fan of them on Bitcoin.com because it's able to keep up to date on a lot of things around the world when it comes to anything cryptocurrency news. And I use this quite a lot. But I also sometimes just type in Bitcoin news and hit news right here and look at, on the Google search and look to see different news articles being put out there across the globe. So you're going to want to do your research. You're going to want to read these things to see how possibly these news articles and stories could affect the market in itself. Now, we did speak about a few weeks ago that the barrier of entry to crypto exchanges was increased in the sense of just being able to sign up for an exchange was causing issue. That's starting to kind of drop back down now, with even Binance reopening its stores and some other exchanges, getting to that point where they've hired a bunch of people, trained them up, and so that barrier of entry, which is already high, is now lowering because the exchanges are reopening the doors. So that's getting better. So with that being said, that getting better, then it's really all news now, because now new money is being able to come into the market, and they could be looking for the market to turn green before they put their money in, because they might not know what's a good price. So once you evaluate the market and you kind of understand what might be going on with the market, then you want to go and reevaluate your personal investment. And you want to reevaluate your own personal investment, see if there's any news specific to your investment. Like say you're invested in Tron or Verge or Ripple or Stellar, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever it may be, you're going to want to search for news on that specific coin. I mean, just like I typed in Bitcoin news, I could literally just do Ripple news, and it'll be news articles on Ripple alone. I highly suggest you check their Twitter. And most likely, in that sense, when it comes to the Ripple Twitter, you're going to see more bias towards good news. Of course, no one is going to put bad news on their own Twitter account or their own official announcements. So it's good to kind of look for all different sides. So you definitely want to check out the news articles. Reddit's also a good sign. You want to see what the community's saying. They might have picked up something that is true that you can't really find anywhere else, or just early. But you also have to watch out for that, because a lot of it could also be, false news, false articles, just in a sense FUD. You're going to have to filter out the good and the bad and really do your research. And this isn't an easy process. It's actually quite a difficult process, but it's not, it's not solving rocket science. It's really just taking the time to read and understand and purposely make it that you just don't read what you want to read. Yeah, we all want to read that, Ripple prices are soaring if you're invested in Ripple, but we don't really want to look at the stories of why it might go down or a Bitcoin bubble. I was like, even today, I was researching just Bitcoin news, and you could see the specific language used when they're talking about. I saw a news article like Bitcoin crashes, and it was like, what? Like it crashes back down to $10,900. Like when a week ago there was like Bitcoin is bubbles burst. It dropped down under 10,000 for a split second. So you have to look out for that. Both sides of the coin, of the positive and good, are going to be could be very dramatic in its language, and you have to filter out that and really look at the core of the article, what it's actually speaking about. So you want to reevaluate your investment. Does your investment have some bad actual news out there? What's the community looking at? Because right now, while it's still mostly private investors, by private investors I mean like yourself and myself, and I, big hedge funds and banks aren't really into the crypto space yet. I will love it one day if like E-Trade or Ameritrade will open up that space, because just the barrier of entry would then pretty much be non-existent, other than just having money and having a brokerage account and not using other exchanges out there like Binance. Hopefully they get to that point of E-Trade. But once that ability to come into market is easier, we're going to have to live with what we have now. So you're going to want to look for those news articles. Try to find out as much as you can about your investment to make sure. Now this is why you want to do this. To make sure that the reason why it's down is because the market in general is down, and not because of a specific news article or a specific event that has to specifically do with your specific, yes, we're using the word specific a lot here, your specific cryptocurrency. In a sense, what you want to really filter out is my investment down because of my investment's own doings, or is it down because of a whole different market issue here? And an example of that would be, let me use Tron as an example. A few weeks ago, the market for Tron went down because it had issues of the plagiarism. They said that they plagiarized their white paper on Reddit, and there was an article written about it. And Justin Sun had to come in and say that they weren't really plagiarizing. And, Tron went on the defenses to defend themselves. But that's that's something that affects a community, and that could lead to a downturn in the market for that specific coin. On top of that, let's say there wasn't anything like that. Let's say it was just good news, recently partnerships after partnerships after partnerships, but the market's still going down. There's really no bad news. The plagiarism thing's gone. It's been disproven, or still for question. Depends on what side you're on. But it's kind of in the crypto world gone in the sense of people's minds. It's not new news. So now they're just all about announcing partnerships, but it's still down. You know, Tron is actually down 7 cents. It's actually still down in the 7-day average, percentage average. But the market is down. So Tron itself has been giving great news of different partnerships coming in and partnering with Tron, but still down. So then you could kind of, you know, realize that it's actually a market issue, an overall market issue that's bringing a lot of these coins down. So you could kind of, in a sense, feel safe about your investment, unless it's something dramatic in a sense of the market down. If it's just, you know, there's things like, you know, South Korea and regulations coming into play within different countries, because, you know, cryptocurrency in a sense is the most libertarian kind of thing out there, where it takes the power away from governments. And if anyone with power, if you've had power before, or if you've seen this, people with power or have had power, you kind of don't want to lose that power. You know, it's you kind of almost lose a part of yourself when you get used to having a certain amount of power for so long. And cryptocurrency space and the blockchain technology helps take that kind of power away. And, you know, of course, you know, you're trying to change this whole big financial system. Of course, you're going to have some backlash and resistance from the status quo. This is expected. So in the case of Tron, good news coming out, but it's still down. But market news as overall is kind of negative. Then you can understand and know that it's not your coin in itself, but it's actually just the market in general. So then you can feel good about, you know, your investment. That's not really it doing anything wrong. And the last thing you want to look for when it comes to understanding the market and during a downturn and trying to take advantage of it is looking for new investment opportunities. So you're going to see, like, the market's down. A lot of coins are that, instead of saying coins, let's say projects. A lot of projects are really good, solid projects, and they're actually fixing a lot of things that are out there, and there are different specific spaces that they're focusing on. You know, either be Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Verge, Litecoin, Cardano. They're all what VeChain with the supply management. They're all trying to fix something, you know. And if they're a good project, they're a good project. And if they don't have anything actually wrong with them, no bad news, but they're low because of the market, then you want to look for these opportunities. Kind of think of it as like a fire sale. And this kind of, you know, and you look for these entry points. It's happened before. It's happened before in the normal stock market. Think back to the housing market during 2007, 2008, 2009. That whole housing market collapse with collateralized debts and the tranches all coming down, and the whole mortgage sector just going to complete shit. You saw really good, solid companies. I mean, solid, making money, like just a ton of money, but their price share went down because the market as a whole, and also in this case the financial sector, was going to shit. But it wasn't, the companies themselves were still very profitable and still making money. They weren't making as much money, but they were still in the positives. They were still in the green, you know, or the black, some might say. And I can give you some examples. If we look at Google, here, when the mortgage housing, you know, started, you know, people started defaulting on their mortgages and some bonds started crashing, you know, Google was at $355 a share. And then, you know, during September of 2008 is when the bailout was announced. If we look at September here, you know, like look at during this whole year, 2008 and 2007, like the crash happened and then some recovery, but then things getting really bad. A lot of banks started failing, a lot of companies started failing, and you see just the market downturn to the point it gets to Google being $130 a share. And then you have the recovery. If the company is good, its fundamentals are good, its roadmap is good, and it's still making, its financials is good, then you could be safe in the feeling that they might survive this downturn in the market. I mean, if you imagine, if you're kind of wealthy, but $130 share now is worth $1,100. Same thing happened to Amazon. $86 during the same period, November 2008, $37. Now it's a $1,200. I try to pick some of these dramatic ones, but even if you look at Ford during that period of 2007, 2009, and beyond, Ford was doing okay. It was auto companies took a huge hit, but it was still a solid company, and it did pretty well for itself after the bailout and kind of reinvented itself. They had a rainy day fund. It's one of the few that didn't take bailout money. So it's something you have to look for. Look for those new entry points. And there's coins here that in the top 100, and even coins that are close to the top 100, that probably in the 200, 300, that were getting a nice little spike. They were doing really good, but now because of the market downturn, they've gone back to a nice price point that could allow you to get in at a really strong position. So look for these opportunities. If you feel that the market can recover, which I personally do believe it can recover, because I believe in technology, and my personal investments, I invested in projects and projects that have actual companies behind them, and I believe their fundamentals are really strong. Then you could feel safe in the knowledge that it can go up. I mean, just think about, people keep saying we're in the wild, wild west, and they're trying to say all this like to the tulip thing or the dot-com bubble. But out of the dot-com bubble, let's use that for an example. If you wanted to go buy something or sell something on auction or buy something on auction today online, but actually where would you go? Most people would say eBay. But there were multiple eBays, in a sense, the auction sites, that were competitors. And there will be projects and companies that will become the industry leaders and the other ones that didn't have the proper fundamentals or whatever it may be, they weren't able to compete with that industry leader who came out ahead. So it's going to be the same thing in the crypto market as the market matures, because it's been a wild ride. It's been very, very volatile, extremely volatile, especially with how much money came in. And you're going to see, we're at 1,400 coins. I think a few weeks ago, I was telling people we're about 1,300 coins. Now we're at 14, almost at 1,500 coins. There's so much people coming to market, just like the tech bubble. So many internet companies coming into the market. Industry leaders are going to come out of it, and you should look to position yourself for those long-term, investments, because they can pay off big time, especially if you pick a good one. So do your homework, evaluate the market, reevaluate your investments, and look for new investment opportunities, either to buy more of what you already own or expand and diversify your investment portfolio. So that's all I have. This video went a little bit long, but this is a very strong topic and does deserve the amount of time for discussion, because it's very important, because we're dealing with real money here, and I want you guys to be successful. And I'll leave it here. If you guys have any questions, please go ahead and comment below, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my knowledge. You can also private message me. I will also have a link to my Twitter in the description. You can go ahead and follow me there, and you can message me on Twitter. Some have messaged me on Twitter, and I speak to them on Twitter whenever I can about some of my previous investments, or just things I'm looking at, or some suggestions, or they want my opinion on something. And it's fun. I love interacting with you guys there on the comments and Twitter. If you like the video, please go ahead and like it. And if you would like to see some more, subscribe. And I hope to make more videos that are enjoyable and increase the knowledge base of the cryptocurrency markets for you guys. You know, I just want to give you my experience in the banking world and all the investments I've done before. And I want to pass it on to you and what my strategies are. Well, that's it for me tonight, guys. Have a good night.